Cheers and welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. Yes, we're brewing another beer on the iGulu. We're doing the Amber Lager. That's right, this is our first lager on the iGulu. And if you've seen the other ones, we've got the Pale Ale, which was freaking amazing. And we had the Hefeweizen, which was really good. I'm kind of burnt out on Hefeweizens, but I love the Pale Ale. It was just amazing. The Hefeweizen was great too. My son loved it. I liked it. I liked the clove. It had more clove than banana, which was really nice and refreshing because those are common flavors and aromas in Hefeweizen. And I've been burnt out on the banana, but that clove was very nice, very welcoming. Amber Lager. This is going to be a nice, smooth beer with some nice malt flavors, and it is more of a malt forward beer than something like the Pale Ale. So the Hefeweizen's kind of like right in the middle. Yeah, it's just more of a malt beer too, but hey, it is. There's a key with the yeast in the Hefeweizens that keeps it kind of hazy, and that's why I say it's kind of more of a balanced beer. But yeah, we're going for a lager. It is an amber lager, and I've seen a few things out there recently on YouTube. First of all, that there's no instructions. Oh, hey, wait, there they are. Yeah, there are instructions. They're on the back of the kit. So when you get a beer kit, your instructions are on the back, okay? So yeah, keep that in mind. I've also been told they didn't know how much water to add. It says in the instructions, 116 ounces, which I keep calling 115 in some of the videos, but it's 116 ounces because the system will do 1 gallon total with the malt extract and everything else added. So keep that in mind. Also, that's plastic because you're drinking it through a food grade tube. It comes out into your glass. Make sure that if this is your first brew, second brew, third brew, it doesn't matter, that everything is clean and as sanitized as possible. That's why I have everything on a paper towel. You can see what everything looks like. But basically, I've cleaned everything. I've washed the top and back of the packet. If you've ever done sourdough bread, you know there is yeast and bacteria floating around everywhere. So I try to minimize it. Even on my paper towels, when I lay them down, I do the inside of the paper towels to put everything on because I'm afraid what the outside may have been exposed to. And a lot of times I'll take that first outside, wipe everything down with a good cleaner, throw it away, and then use a fresh, yeah, I'm OCD. It is what it is. Make sure that if you clean this, you plug the liquid line in and you run your sanitizer through here so it gets all the way through. This seals up, so you're not gonna be able to run sanitizer through either one of these if you don't connect it and have the liquid flow through. Your PRV, which is a pressure relief valve. Yeah, don't worry too much on the air one, but clean the inside here, just clean everything. If you're not sure, clean it. Same thing. Yeah, everything has to be cleaned, okay? So we have 116 ounces of water. If you're brewing a beer and you care about the flavor and you care how it tastes, go to your local store, spend $1, get a gallon of spring water, plus or minus, your cost may vary. But yeah, you're spending the time. I know it's super easy, but you still gotta wait about a week, sometimes a little longer for everything to be done. Make sure it's gonna be an amazing beer by not putting something bad in there or contaminating it. I will say one thing in the instructions based on someone having an issue is that it does not recommend or does not say you have to stir anything. I'm gonna keep stirring, because I feel like sometimes that dry malt extract may clump together and not ferment fully. So I'm gonna keep stirring, and I'm gonna stir with, yeah, the dip tube. It's like a giant straw. I feel like iGulu doesn't want you to stir it because you're afraid that you're gonna grab a spoon that you think is clean that might have some floating yeast or bacteria that's in the air. You stick it in there, stir it up, and you've contaminated your beer. So I think they're playing it safe. I'm gonna tell you, if you keep everything sanitized, make sure your hands are really clean, and you stir it with this, keep in mind when you're stirring this, things can fall off, and be careful about that. I just think it's gonna come out better because everything is gonna get blended up better. It may not be perfect, but the yeast will be able to get it and attack it. Also, if you've already done one of the ales, you'll notice this yeast packet is about double the size of your previous yeast packets. That's because yeast is gotta eat all the sugar, but at a warmer temperature, yeast thrives, and that's an ale, which ferments on top. On a lager, needs a little more workers, should we say, because it ferments on the bottom at a colder temperature, and it's a bottom fermenting type yeast that really needs some extra help. So about double the yeast. Just keep that in mind. I think it is exactly double the yeast, but that's something to be aware of. Today we've got I believe these are 20, it says 20, it says natural hops bitter extract 20, and we're expecting the 18 to 22 IBUs. Sounds suspicious. And then for flavoring and aroma, we have 2 packets of Hirschspracher. It's Hersbruker. I'll put it up somewhere. But I believe it's a German hop, pretty 98% sure there. But yeah, so I may be destroying how it's supposed to be pronounced, but needless to say, this is gonna give it a little aroma, a little flavor, but this is really more of a malt forward beer. But the difference between an ale and a lager that most people don't realize is that a lager is usually very smooth. Well, an ale usually has got more going on, more pronounced, up there in your face, kind of, hey, try this, smell this. So this should be a much smoother beer compared to some of the ales you've probably had, but doesn't mean it's gonna be a bad beer, it's gonna be a great beer, just a different beer, that's all. So let's just get busy and let's get rock and rolling. Remember, 116 ounces because this only does up to 1 gallon. I know you're thinking 1 gallon's 128 ounces, but hey, what's this? This is more stuff we're adding to it. That's what's gonna bring it up. So we gotta keep that all aware. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll follow the instructions to a degree. I'm gonna add the yeast last because that's just the way I am. And I'm gonna stir because that's the way I am. So we'll turn around, we're gonna open this packet up. This is the natural hops bittering extract that came out of that bag. And keep in mind too, we have our RFID that we can scan and it should set all of our fermentation temperatures just correctly. So I'm gonna take this, flip it upside down and squeeze it out. Do not taste test this stuff. It will destroy your palate, kind of like drinking straight whiskey. It's very bitter. I'm not saying your whiskey's bitter, but I'm just saying it's strong. It's designed to be diluted, so I would not recommend trying this stuff. Although if you're curious, you go right ahead and then you put down in the comments how bitter that really was. And I know this from experience. Yes, I've been there, done that. Or some Simcoe extract. Okay, here's the hop aroma. This should give it some, I can smell some hop, but I can't really smell it distinctly. There it goes. Now, I'm not a big propylene glycol fan. This has a tiny, you're talking like not even a drip. It's just to keep the hops preserved before usage. I would expect most of that to fall out of suspension, so do not worry. I am very against fake stuff, and I have yet to have anything taste weird to me. Oh, nice earthy hop. That'll go really good with that darker malt extract. And if I didn't tell you, it's Breeze and it's amber. It's an amber extract. I gotta keep it near the paper towel because I don't want to get anything on it. I did wash and wipe down my whole entire stainless steel counter, and I do mean I washed it. I scrubbed the hell out of it. My wife cannot stand the smell of hops. I love the smell of hops. I love the smell of grain. I can go into a feed store for animals and I'm like, oh, this smells good. I wonder if I could brew with this. I'm pretty bad. Okay. Yeah, just a very nice earthy hop. I did not look up what I would have expected from that hop. I'm just telling you what I'm smelling. So, is it hazy and looks like it's got some floating haze? Yes, it does, and it should. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add the malt extract. I have a razor blade, I'm big on razor blades, and yes, I clean the hell out of this too. Here we go. Warning, 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 if you're not used to dry malt extract, it is extremely powdery, very dusty, and can cause problems because it can get into everything and it's very sticky. And let's see if we can make sure that you can see this. Okay, you should be able to see it. Got a few people out there with some trust issues, and I want to make sure they see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, go nice and slow, because this stuff, like I said, can make your day really bad. It's very powdery, very dusty. I mean, it is like the Sahara Desert in powder. A lot sweeter than the Sahara Desert, but hey, very powdery, very sweet. It is pretty much all your fermentable sugars from real grains, malted grains. So you get all the flavor. My hand's cramping. Sorry about that. Welcome to age. My hand was cramping, quite literally. Okay. There we go. A little code on it, I guess, when it was made, but I don't know, it doesn't show a date or anything. All good. All I know is, and when malt extract gets old, it gets really hard. Everything I've gotten from iGulu has been super soft and very powdery, which tells me it's very fresh. So keep that in mind. Okay, this is where the instructions don't say to stir it. It says you don't need to. I'm gonna stir it for two reasons. One, I'm OCD, and two, I feel like it's gonna ferment better because there won't be any clusters of malt, bound up like a dough ball. Keep in mind this can fall off, so actually, we'll just take it off so I don't have to worry about it falling off, because it's more dangerous to have to fetch it than it is to just hold on to it with your hand that hopefully you washed really well. And you're not gonna stir it perfect. There'll be little tiny clumps in there, and that's fine, who cares? You just don't want a bunch of dough balls sitting on the bottom that the yeast is gonna have to try to fight to get through and eat up. Okay, there's another benefit to stirring it. If you can see all that foam on there, that's air that's getting into the actual malt extract and the water or liquid, whatever, but it's getting in there and it's staying in suspension. The yeast loves oxygen when it's growing. When it's fermenting, it doesn't actually need oxygen. So it's great to aerate it, because if you aerate it, the yeast is gonna take off a little faster. And now we're gonna add our yeast, which I don't think is terrible. Nope, I'm gonna have to use my razor blade. I'm gonna have to dry it off. Got it sitting over here in a pool of star sand from earlier that I didn't dry. Some yeast has aroma. I have yet to have a yeast. I think all these yeasts are pretty neutral, so they're not gonna affect really so much the flavor or taste of the beer as much as it's just gonna eat away at all the lovely sugars. It will not eat all the sugar. It will eat the majority of the sugar, and it will leave a little bit behind, which is part of that flavor that you get from beer. Because you ever had a beer and it tastes kind of like nothing? Yeah, that's been over fermented, which is very hard to do with beer, but you can do it. That can happen more with wines, very dry wines. Extremely dry ciders or sometimes have very little flavor. Beer is a bit of an exception to that. Okay, so now take your straw. If for any reason you drop any of this stuff, it gets contaminated in any way, even though you don't think it's contaminated, wash and then come back, okay? So we're gonna take this. I'm trying to make sure I didn't forget anything. It's so simple. I always feel like I'm forgetting something. Push down. Okay, if I didn't show you this already, this has a little hook on here. That hook hooks up under a lip. So when this starts to ferment and the pressure starts to build, it's not gonna break loose. If you try to take this off and there's pressure, it protects you because you can't take it off. You have to release that pressure from the PRV, pressure release valve, and close it. For dry malt extract, it's called DME. If you hear the word DME, dry malt extract. Lots of acronyms in home brewing. Okay, that's it. We're almost done. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna set it in here. Yep, I guess I should have kept this little air piece out of the way. Okay, I'm gonna set it in here, turn it a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead, hook up my liquid line, but before you hook up my liquid line, make sure you clamp it all the way down, okay? All the way. This is gonna build up pressure. If you don't do that, you could have a mess. So you wanna make sure you do that. Okay, we take this, we pop it into the middle, snap. Remember over here, you take the little magnetic metal thing off, you open the valve because there is a pressure piece in there because you're not drinking out of plastic. The drink is actually being, or the beer, cider, whatever you do, is coming from a food grade tube that you push all the way down. You can't push it out. It gets all the way to the certain point. I say that and I feel like it's still going. But no, it's there. There we go. Felt like it went further than normal, but nope, it did not. There we go. You have just enough tube that it fits perfectly. Don't have a lot of excess sticking out, which is good. You put that down. Don't open this or this. Now, if you accidentally hit this, well, it's fermenting, you're fine, because you have this other clamp. When you're ready to serve, that's when you'll release this clamp, just one or two. The reason you don't want to release it full open is because it's creating some friction in there, which for normal beer brewing, depending upon your hose, you're going to have anywhere from 1.5 feet to as many as 10, 12 feet of hose. This is only maybe 8 to 10 inches of hose. It's really a little short. So that's why this creates drag, so that you don't end up with a massive foam bomb or over, basically a foam bomb. It helps to create drag. And that's the same effect when you're doing a very long hose or different types of liquid hoses on your beer. It creates drag, and that drag helps to slow the beer down before it hits the glass, so you don't end up with a bunch of foam, okay? Something very common, a problem that a lot of home brewers have in the beginning when they're learning how to keg and things like that. They end up getting a lot of foam. They learn, it takes time, it's not a big deal. So, okay, we're ready to ferment. Now, all I have to do is close it up, bring the camera a little closer so you can see what's going on, and we'll get going. There we go. There's the RFID for the amber lager. You can peel the sticker off. I leave it on for the camera so you can see. I'll go boom. There we go. Yep, the sound effects are included. It says amber lager. I hit next. It tells me that it's going to be at 53 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 days, which I believe is about 12 Celsius. And then for 3 days, it'll be at 35 degrees 35 degrees Fahrenheit, which I believe is 2 degrees Celsius. And all I do is hit brew. I'm done. See that red light or amber? It's heating up, and it's going to get it. Well, actually, I guess it's not heating it up. It's fermenting, but it's going to have to chill it down to 53 degrees. It's at 71 now. Once it gets there, it'll stay there, like I said, and it's told 15 days total. And that's it. It'll be ready to serve. It'll automatically cold crash for those last couple days, and we can enjoy tasting it. Okay, we're gonna let it go for 15 days, just over 2 weeks. And then I'm gonna get somebody here, or maybe bring this system somewhere. I'm afraid of shaking it up, but we'll figure it out. And we'll do a taste testing on the amber lager from iGulu. Cheers. Appreciate you. Thank you.